Tonight, Melbourne's north lashed by a wild winter storm, damaging homes and shopping centres, the latest live. Plus, 6 teens arrested after a stolen Audi crashes through an art gallery in the Dandenongs, leaving the owner heartbroken. Melbourne anti-vax protesters target sick children and their parents. Author Salman Rushdie fights for life after a stabbing attack on stage in the US. Tributes from Melbourne's original influencer, Lillian Frank. And the Dogs win a heartstopper as the Blues fight for final survival. Live coverage from inside the MCG.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Blake Johnson starts now.
Good evening. A mammoth clean-up is underway tonight after an icy blast lashed suburbs across Melbourne's north. The fast-moving storm damaged homes and a shopping centre and caused confusion for drivers on the roads.
Craigieburn Junction Shopping Centre pelted by a wild winter storm.
First minute in the morning it was nice and sunny, and look at it now.
Shoppers watching their step as the afternoon hail flooded shops.
But no, Kmart's roof actually caved in. My shoes are soaked, so it's up to my ankles.
There were similar scenes across the city's north and northeastern suburbs. Rosanna resembling snowfields.
That's it.
Melbourne's weather living up to its reputation. Locals enjoying a round of golf in the sun 1 minute, then forced to use umbrellas to shield the next.
Bloody hell!
This video shows just how much damage the chunks of ice could cause. In Preston, drivers proceeding with caution in flash flooding, the slippery conditions slowing traffic across the city. The winter whiteout caused by a line of slow-moving storms and an unstable air mass descending over the city and moving to the west, and an emergency call-out in Craigieburn where there was fire and rain. 8 crews extinguishing the flames when a grilled chicken shop caught alight.
And Sonia, the State Emergency Service has its work cut out.
Yes, Blake, there's been 67 call-outs over the last 6 hours. The main issues have been building damage and flooding, with Craigieburn, Preston and Thornbury the hardest hit suburbs. Now, as we go to air tonight, there are still storms firing up to the north and the west of the city, but anything still going now is going to start weakening and will likely die off over the next few hours. Now, I will continue to track those storms, Blake, and I'll have the latest along with a full forecast after sport.
See you again soon. Thanks, Sonia. An art gallery owner in Melbourne's southeast has been left heartbroken after 6 teenagers in a stolen Audi crashed into her store. The teens tried to flee by calling an Uber before police moved in.
A stolen luxury Audi ploughs straight through an art gallery, destroying the side of the 100-year-old building. The 6 teenagers inside escape unharmed, but instead of waiting for police, they decide to run. One of them hid at the back of a house a kilometre away. Organising an escape plan, another teen calls for a pickup. The owner watched it unfold on her security camera and called the police. 5 of the teens were arrested. A police dog then tracked the 6th, who tried to hide in bushes. That teen suffered bite marks.
This car, I don't think, put any brakes on at all. It was going pretty full flat out, so it just took them straight in.
The car damaged paintings and other artwork inside. Incredibly, a $40,000 black cockatoo sculpture survived.
We just finished renovating from the front area from a car that had just come into the gabion walls that were here only a few months ago, and we just got the blind literally last night and the key for the door.
Locals say the roads here at night are overrun with hoon drivers who use stolen cars to drag race through the windy, narrow streets.
We hear them every Friday, Saturday night, and they congregate over in 5 ways over there. I've seen up to 50 cars there some nights, and they all just hoon up and down.
The art gallery is closed until it can be repaired again. The community promising to help with the rebuild.
I only work here a day a week, but it's such a beautiful place to work.
We just had an exhibition called Still Standing.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
The pressure of enforcing COVID lockdowns is being blamed on a shortage of Victoria police officers. The academy is struggling to attract new recruits, with intake well below previous years.
Victoria's police force buckling under staff shortages.
At the moment, we're about 250 police short of where we should be.
2 years of COVID left officers to enforce unpopular new laws, including mask mandates.
Well, there's a degree of that. The reality is, all of this highlights the realities of policing, the uncertainties, the flexibility that's required to do the job in a modern police force.
The last Victoria Police recruitment drive in 2016 was the biggest in history. The state government spent $2 billion to employ an additional 3,000 police officers to tackle youth crime. The state government has promised another 502 this state election.
So I'd encourage people to have a think about whether the police force might be for them.
A former academy trainer says there's at least 400 applicants waiting to become police officers. And the state government needs to make the year-long recruitment process faster to get them in the door.
Some of them have stopped their Victoria Police application and applied elsewhere, and others have kept their Victoria Police application going and put in an additional application with another state.
We call on the Victorian government to move quickly to ensure that advertising campaigns are put in place to make sure that we can recover from this shortage.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
Parents have been targeted by anti-vaccine protesters outside the Royal Children's Hospital. A group of around 200 marched through Melbourne, stopping at the hospital before unsuccessfully trying to block key entry and exit points to the facility. Police say they're extremely disappointed the protesters targeted patients and their families. Salman Rushdie is fighting for life in hospital after he was stabbed multiple times in front of fans. The controversial author was on stage in New York when his attacker lunged at him with a knife.
Chaos and horror on stage. At an event about free speech, the headline author there to defend it comes under attack.
With the amphitheater, the presenter was just attacked on the stage. I need EMS.
Members of the audience wrestle with the assailant. Others gather around Sir Salman Rushdie. Wounded but alive, he was flown to hospital and taken straight into surgery. The news is not good, his agent said. Salman will likely lose one eye. The nerves in his arm were severed and his liver was stabbed and damaged.
All I remember seeing at that time was the assailant's arm going up and down, up and down. It looked like Mr. Rushdie, who began on the chair, ended up on the floor.
The renowned author has lived in fear of this very moment for more than 30 years. His 1988 book, The Satanic Verses, was deemed offensive, blasphemous by some Muslims. Iran's then Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini issued a fatwa, an edict to have Mr. Rushdie murdered. Mr. Rushdie spent the best part of a decade in hiding with a $3 million bounty on his head. He always yearned for normality and eventually returned to public life, continuing to campaign against censorship.
Spontaneity, to make one's own decisions without referring to anyone else.
If you're a free expression organisation, if you believe in the value of free speech, then you must believe in the value of free speech that you don't like.
Here's an individual who has spent decades speaking truth to power.
Indian-born but a British citizen, Rushdie received round-the-clock government protection as he moved between safe houses throughout the 1990s. From outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson, appalled that Sir Salman Rushdie has been stabbed while exercising a right we should never cease to defend. Mr. Rushdie once again headline news in Iran tonight. His alleged attacker, 24-year-old New Jersey man Hadi Matar, arrested at the scene and now the subject of an FBI investigation. In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
There are calls to change Victoria's political donation rules or accept years of major party dominance. Experts say the rise of teal independence at the federal election is now looking unlikely to be replicated here in November.
Oscar Yildiz believes the tides of Victorian state politics are changing.
People want change and they're sick and tired of the corruption. They're sick and tired of all the internal, machinations that are going on in parties.
The Melbourne City Councillor has established a political party. It wanted to run for every seat at the state election, but Mr Yildiz now says it can't because of restrictive donation laws.
To run a significant campaign against the two major parties, you do need funding, and it does make it really challenging for minor parties to compete against the two major parties.
Introduced by the Andrews government in 2018, the laws cap political donations to $1,000 a year for 4 years. But the same rules don't exist at a federal level.
We saw at the last federal election in May, for example, reports that over about $12 million was donated to the Teal Independents from the Climate 200 donors. And this would not be possible under existing Victorian laws.
Simon Holmes a Court coordinated that campaign and believes Victoria's laws give the major parties a significant advantage.
$6 per vote was given to candidates after the election. In Labor's case, they received $10 million, and they start this campaign with that large nest egg they've carried over, whereas an independent starting up now, or a minor party, starts with nothing. These laws give a free kick to those who are already in power.
I suspect the problem Mr Yildiz has is he just doesn't have as many supporters as he thought he had.
Mr Holmes a Court is still hopeful independents will have a fighting chance at the November state election. He's encouraging every Victorian to play an active role in electing their local member.
Consider donating and consider volunteering.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Fighting fans have forced a local football match to be abandoned in Carrum Downs. The brawl broke out between opposing supporters in the crowd during the game between Skye and Heatherton. Police say they were not called to attend. A grey army could be about to head back to the workforce to help fix Australia's staff shortage crisis. The government today agreeing to look at a new proposal to entice pensioners out of retirement.
Crippling workforce shortages have many businesses cutting hours and closing their doors. Now the government is looking to older Australians to help bridge the gap by removing penalties for pensioners who want to get back to work.
The government wants a bigger and better skilled workforce.
For every dollar pensioners earn over $300 each fortnight, their pension payments start reducing. The opposition want to double that to $600 a fortnight. Seniors groups argue it should go further, work as much as you want, but pay income tax on both the pension and earnings.
We're saying have a system that encourages people to work.
A recent survey finding almost 20% of the more than 2.5 million pensioners would consider returning to work. The motivation for many, more money to combat cost of living pressures.
We're not talking about a group of very wealthy people here feathering their nests. We're talking about people that are struggling to survive in many cases.
The government says it will debate the proposal at next month's Jobs Summit and have already had discussions about how the system would work. Its main concern, the impact to the budget's bottom line.
They're worried about cost, but what they should remember is that when people work, they pay taxes.
The Nationals also want veterans included.
This is a payback to them for their service to this country and to be able to continue to contribute to this country.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
The FBI is investigating Donald Trump for possible breaches of America's espionage laws. Agents seized classified documents from the former president's Florida home, some marked top secret.
Courtesy of a Florida judge, stunning glimpses into the FBI's raid at Donald Trump's Palm Beach home. How officers went in looking for classified government documents, some so secret they're supposed to stay in secure government lockups. How investigators had probable cause for suspecting crimes under 3 federal laws, including violations of the Espionage Act.
And that's a pretty shocking thing to see undergirding a search warrant focused on a former president of the United States.
The papers show the FBI was pursuing national defence information. The Washington Post reports one of the raid's key targets was classified documents relating to nuclear weapons.
There's nothing more classified than materials related to the U.S. nuclear program.
Donald Trump flatly denies it. Nuclear weapons issue is a hoax. A Republican backer defended him this way.
I can tell you that there are a number of things that are
classified that fall under the umbrella of nuclear weapons, but that are not necessarily things that are truly classified.
The 27 boxes the FBI took from Mar-a-Lago also included information on French President Macron, photo binders and a handwritten note. One critical court document stayed sealed today, the so-called affidavit. It likely has far more detail on what investigators are chasing here. They've now got to scrutinise the seized documents and then decide, does this all go nowhere or to a historic first, the prosecution of a former US president?
The FBI raid of President Trump is a complete abuse and overreach of its authority.
This as the Bureau secures its headquarters against raid-related anger.
Any attacks on law enforcement are completely unacceptable.
42-year-old Ricky Schiffer, so incensed by the Mar-a-Lago raid, he posted, "This time we must respond with force," then told followers he was attacking the FBI. Bureau officers would later shoot him dead. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Melbourne's original socialite and fashion icon Lillian Frank has died at 92. The celebrity hairdresser was well known for her charity work and ability to look at the world through rose-coloured glasses.
Lillian Frank was Melbourne's first influencer, well before social media.
We're here, Mrs. Frank.
Pass me a bottle of champagne.
If there was an event, Lillian was there in all her glory.
She started out as a hairdresser, but she then became a social identity, and then she had a column.
Oh, we're naughty today, aren't we?
A woman with a big heart, she helped raise millions of dollars for charity and was never far from Flemington.
I'm mad about the races. I made my name on the races. I wore mad hats.
Some of her outfits that she wore were groundbreaking.
Her Toorak salon saw plenty of famous faces. Rumour has it even the Queen had her hair styled there.
Lillian was the Queen of Toorak, without a doubt.
Lillian was born in Burma in 1930. She fled to India during the war, briefly lived in the UK before making Australia home.
I love Melbourne, and Melbourne loves me.
The 92-year-old died yesterday, surrounded by family, leaving behind her Melbourne restaurateur husband Richard, daughters Jackie and Michelle, and 2 grandchildren. Last night we lost the heart and soul of our family, the most spectacular, selfless human being in the world with the biggest heart.
Her ability to bring people along with her with the most incredible warm embrace, whether it was physical or just that sense of energy, we're really going to miss Lillian.
Melbourne again in mourning, just days after the deaths of Olivia Newton-John and Judith Durham. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Carlton can book a finals berth tonight with a win over the reigning premiers. Mitch Cleary has inside access at the MCG. Mitch, Patrick Cripps will be out to make the most of his second chance.
Well, Blake, Cripps spent a combined 7 hours before 2 separate appeal hearings this week, but he's got his wish. He's free to play tonight in what is a blockbuster game against Melbourne. The Bulldogs' win today means that the Blues need to win at least one of their last 2 games to break a 9-year finals drought, and what better way to do it tonight than against Melbourne, who are fighting for their own spot in the top 4. Meantime, North Melbourne's push for Alastair Clarkson is into overdrive. Prominent member Peter de Rausch taking out an advertisement in the newspaper today to say bring home Alastair Clarkson. Of course, the Roos pushing to bring him back to Arden Street where he started his playing career. Here at the MCG, there's whispers of a late change for the Blues. I'll be back in sport with all the details ahead of what should be an absolute cracker. Blake?
Good on you, Mitch. Thank you. And the Bulldogs have kept their finals hopes alive. Abby Gelmy, it wasn't pretty, but the Dogs live to fight another day.
They certainly do, Blake. We'll have all the latest on an injury concern to their star skipper shortly, but there was no love lost between modern-day rivals as 2 stars of the future drag the Dogs over the line. Tears for a much-loved kangaroo, with North Melbourne tonight facing questions over a controversial concussion. Why Gary Ablett has earned even more silverware for his trophy cabinet. And we've got a bit of Nick Kyrgios just being Nick Kyrgios. That's coming up in sport.
Thanks, Abby. See you soon. A spike in speed camera fines is catching out Melbourne drivers. Sarah Jones is covering the story.
Blake, one Melbourne camera is raking in $700 an hour. I'll have the details live next on 7 News.
Thanks, Sarah. Also ahead, a child linked to a music festival meningococcal outbreak. Hollywood rocked as the family of Anne Heche turns off her life support. A whale warning to beachgoers on our east coast. And later, sci-fi meets modern medicine. Why Aussie scientists are growing brains in a lab. Melbourne drivers are being caught out by a surge of speed camera fines. Sarah Jones, the return of airline travel's helping one Tullamarine camera make $700 an hour in fines.
Blake, the intersection here at Melbourne Airport has raked in $1.5 million in fines between January and March. That is double the previous quarter. Speeding fines have increased right across the city. There are now calls to overhaul the system. A trip to Melbourne Airport usually comes with a hefty price tag, and that's without getting snapped on the way.
The speed camera at the airport is indicative of the people who are excited to be at the airport. Unfamiliar surroundings, very emotional at times, and of course mistakes start to occur.
The Terminal Drive and Centre Road intersection camera catching more than 5,000 drivers speeding or running a red from January to March, double the previous quarter.
The speed camera system we have now may not be working because there are so many people being fined now. What we can do is put up signs and not try and trick them into incurring a speed fine.
I would have thought if people weren't speeding past that camera, they wouldn't be being fined.
The biggest earner for the state's coffer is the Western Ring Road near Sydney Road. The latest data shows close to 30,000 drivers were booked over the same period, raking in $9 million in fines.
A lot of heavy vehicle drivers have lost their licence based on the fact that they've exceeded 80 kilometres an hour when they've thought it was 100 kilometres an hour.
Other hotspot areas include the Rosanna Road and Darebin Street intersection at Heidelberg, where there were nearly 10,000 fines, Fitzroy Street and Lakeside Drive in St Kilda, the King and Latrobe Street intersection in West Melbourne, Flinders Street and Williams Street in the city, and Kensington Road in Kensington.
Coming out of COVID, we've relaxed our attitude towards driving on our roads. We don't want more people dying.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
A child has become the third person to contract the potentially deadly meningococcal disease at the Splendour in the Grass Music Festival. It has sparked a renewed health warning for attendees after authorities reported 2 confirmed cases earlier this month, including a man in his 40s from Sydney who died from the illness. Festival goers are advised to monitor for symptoms. Actor Anne Heche has died 1 week after a fiery car crash in Los Angeles. The 53-year-old never regained consciousness, with former partner Ellen DeGeneres leading tonight's tributes.
Anne Heche spoke to firefighters who cut her from the crash wreckage. But soon she slipped into a coma she would never wake from. The mother of 2 pronounced dead, her family telling doctors to turn off life support. Anne had a huge heart and touched everyone she met with her generous spirit.
I'm so lucky. I walk around with a joyous experience. I have 2 beautiful children.
Her career as an actor covered many genres, from the remake of Psycho to the horror hit I Know What You Did Last Summer and family comedies like One Christmas. Anne Heche, a popular name in the late 90s, thrust further into the spotlight when she dated Ellen DeGeneres. This is a sad day, tweets Ellen. I'm sending Anne's children, family and friends all of my love.
Ring video shows her blue Mini Cooper speeding down a residential street.
The 53-year-old's car hit a home in Los Angeles and burst into flames. Celebrity gossip website TMZ reports she had cocaine in her system, but no alcohol.
I have to be honest with you, I don't know about the controversy.
A memoir Anne Heche published in 2001 detailed her childhood trauma, including a claim she was raped by her father when she was a child. He died from AIDS when Anne was 13. 3 months later, her brother was killed in a car crash. A family that is no stranger to tragedy. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
A white whale calf has been spotted with its mother heading north towards Queensland waters. The sighting has prompted a fresh warning from authorities to steer clear of the pair. The no approach zone is 100 metres for boats and 300 metres for jet skis and drones. Bollywood is bowling back into Melbourne with sporting royalty at Fed Square for the launch of one of the biggest film festivals in the Southern Hemisphere. Also ahead, cooking up a plan to fix Victoria's hospitality crisis. The source of the River Thames runs dry as Europe swelters through record heat, and cracking down on scammers in the lucrative sneaker trade. Celebrity chef Shannon Bennett is cooking up a plan to fix the staff shortage in hospitality. Bennett says the industry is on life support, encouraging all Victorians to consider a career change.
It's not just waiters, but the hotel industry in general, in management positions, trainee management positions, they're desperate. Once you enter this industry, it is a full profession, and we need more people to enter the industry.
In April, there was more than 5,000 hospitality and tourism job vacancies in Melbourne's CBD alone. One of the world's largest celebrations of Indian culture has returned to Melbourne in style. Bollywood is back, showcasing more than 100 films across the city, including one with a touch of sporting royalty.
Bollywood is taking centre stage in Melbourne. After a 2-year hiatus, the 2022 Indian Film Festival back with a bang. It's the Southern Hemisphere's largest celebration of the booming movie industry. Over 120 films are being screened across the city this week.
To be back, to have this beautiful sun, to sing, dance, hug, it's just amazing.
The festival featuring screen and sporting royalty. Cricket legend Kapil Dev here to promote 83, the movie biopic about India's first World Cup victory.
I think people are really excited to meet some stars and people that they love internationally. Melbourne is the perfect place to have a festival like this because we're so multicultural.
Over 700,000 Indian-born residents currently live in Australia, and Melbourne's home to the largest population.
I think the South Asian community in particular, we have such strong roots to that community here. So I think it's wonderful to be here celebrating all that we are.
The films will be available to stream online and to watch at Hoyt's Cinemas. Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Parts of Europe have been declared drought zones after the driest July in almost a century. It comes as Europe's hot summer shows no sign of slowing.
This is where London's mighty river usually starts, rural Gloucestershire, where the headwaters of the Thames have run dry. The only thing flowing around here, the beers at the local pub.
It does seem very different, yeah, it's drier, a lot drier than it's been before.
Parts of England are now officially in drought. Water restrictions introduced for 17 million people.
We haven't got the infrastructure in place to deal with these problems.
Fires are still popping up across the countryside, this one in Nottinghamshire. The dry weather here is coupled with unusual heat. After hitting 40 degrees for the first time last month, temperatures are back up to 37, even hotter on the continent. Usually a tourist mecca, the River Po, stretching from Turin to Venice in Italy's north, is also dry. It hasn't rained here for months. As fire crews in France continue to battle a monster blaze, with little relief on the horizon. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Australia's sneaker industry is now big business, but it can also be rife with imitations and knockoffs, with teams of authenticators trained in sniffing out the difference between scammers and the real deal.
As a chemist, Edwin Lowe's hobby was collecting limited edition sneakers, until he and some friends were scammed, and he threw in his pharmacy job to stop others from being cheated.
All these people who are so passionate about sneakers, but then there was also so many fake sneakers infiltrating the marketplace, and so there had to be someone to protect these buyers.
Edwin opened the Secret Sneaker Store in Sydney, Melbourne and online, reselling limited edition sneakers. 30 authenticators, like June, help customers tell the fakes from the real deal.
Obviously, you don't want to be the one to tell them.
June looks at the shoe symmetry, the logo and the stitching. But the biggest giveaway of a real sneaker?
You kind of want to smell it again, whereas the fake pairs of shoes kind of gives you a headache, so you don't want to smell that again.
Demand is so high for limited edition Nike and Adidas sneakers in Australia now that tens of thousands will sell out within seconds of release.
If a shoe is popular and there was a designer that was a music artist, a celebrity, then that pushes the price up. If it's very limited, the price goes up as well.
Prices start from around $100 for these simple Nike Dunks, but for a pair like these,
Made in collaboration with celebrity rapper Travis Scott, you'll be forking out a cool $4,000.
Steep price tags, but often one pair isn't enough.
Definitely need more. I've got to expand my collection. I'm really fussy, so it's quite difficult.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Australian scientists are growing brains inside a lab to help cure cancer. The details are next on 7 News. Plus major health insurance changes for parents and their adult children. And new clues on the identity of Australia's scorned lover making headlines around the world. Health insurance shake-up is on the way, with some of Australia's biggest insurance funds moving to extend the age of adult dependence from 25 to 31. Medibank and AHM have announced they're lifting the age on the back of rising cost of living pressures and an increase in young adults still living at home with their parents. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but hundreds of mini brains are growing inside a lab in Australia. The world-class research could change the lives of thousands living with cancer.
In a quiet lab, they're growing. The tiny pink blobs don't look like much, but could be the brains behind a breakthrough.
Almost like little mini brains or little tissue organoids that grow in these spinner bottles.
Researchers from QIMR Berghofer have been growing the mini brains with tumour samples that have been taken from patients and frozen. It's part of a joint study with the RBWH.
All the immune infiltrate, the stem cells, the stroma and obviously the tumour cells are all retained within these organoid structures.
They're hoping for a treatment for glioblastoma, the most aggressive form of adult brain cancer. Andrew Hamilton was diagnosed in 2011.
You can never say that it's gone, and I don't think there's such a thing as remission with this either.
He's lived with it for more than a decade. For most, the survival rate is 15 months. Samples from this lab have been sent across the world to the US, Asia and Europe. The discoveries have been featured in more than 50 publications and led to clinical trials.
We want to not only design better therapies, we want to improve the quality of life for these patients as well.
Who knows? Maybe I will live to see a day when people say, brain cancer, what's that?
A day scientists hope maybe sooner, thanks to their work. Georgia Terry, 7 News.
The 7 News team has been honoured for journalism at the annual Kennedy Awards. Chief reporter Chris Reason won Outstanding News Reporting for his frontline coverage of the war in Ukraine, along with cameraman Jimmy Cannon. Our Spotlight team on Sunday nights won Scoop of the Year for the major exclusive report titled Melissa Caddick, The Vanishing. A revengeful Queensland newspaper ad taken out by a scorned lover named Jenny is captivating the nation. Yesterday, she slammed her ex-partner Steve as a filthy cheater. Today, a mystery Steve in Adelaide took it upon himself to apologise.
On behalf of Steve's, that we're not all bad.
The stunt has grabbed worldwide attention, but some sceptics believe it's just a PR stunt. Sports next with Abby. Jelmy, Abby, there's breaking news from the MCG.
And Blake, we'll have all exclusive details on potentially season-ending surgery for another Carlton midfielder. Also, there's a massive late out for the Blues. We'll get the latest from both camps next. Plus, an injury blow for the Cats as the Dogs live to fight another day. Why the Saints won't be calling on outside help to straighten up their wayward star. And the cheeky bathroom tactic which derailed a runaway Nick Kyrgios. Welcome back. Luke Beveridge concedes captain Marcus Bontempelli is playing injured as the Bulldogs kept their finals hopes alive against the Giants. Ruckman Tim English led the way in a breakout third term as the Dogs scraped home by 5 points.
It wasn't pretty, but for the Dogs, it didn't matter.
The Dogs are alive in 2022, just, but they're alive.
The boys knew well and truly at three-quarter time that the whole season potentially comes down to that last quarter.
Jamara Ugle-Hagan kicked the only goal of the final term
to give the Dogs the lead and does just that
to secure a gritty 5-point win.
I think the tough contest 2 words are quite appropriate.
Alarm bells were ringing in the third and frustrations between the rivals threatened to boil over before Tim English kick-started the Dogs' recovery.
Can Big Tim finish? Yes, he can.
4 straight goals and Bevo's men were back in business.
And lets the crowd know
The Dogs still trailed by 4 at the final change, but held on to fight another day. Their skipper pushed through despite carrying an adductor injury.
Marcus reassured me that it wouldn't inhibit him. But look, he's not 100%.
The Bond more concerned about the clash between Melbourne and Carlton.
I might try and avoid it. Watching it's probably not going to make a difference for it. I might just check the end scores, I reckon.
Zane Cordy also faces a nervous wait after Tanner Bruin left the ground concussed. Natalie Yanides, 7 News.
Dual Brownlow medalist Gary Ablett Jr. took centre stage ahead of Geelong's clash with the Suns on the Gold Coast. Ablett was awarded life membership at the Suns. Patrick Dangerfield then shook off any concerns over his calf injury as the Cats flexed their muscle in an dominant opening term.
Stengel is his 3. It's a bounce and it is through. 3 goals. He is putting on quite a show.
Reece Stanley was subbed out early in the third quarter. The Cats led by 55 points. An emotional Ben Cunnington made his return from cancer with his family by his side. Luke Davies-Uniacke dominated as North went into halftime with an 8-point lead. Jack Zeeble was subbed out with a shoulder injury before the Crows kicked 5 goals in the final term to win by 29 points. At Coburg, dropped top draft pick Jason Horne-Francis responded with a 29 disposal run in the VFL.
I'm really happy that he went back and responded really well. No rethink of it whatsoever. I thought it was the right decision.
Lee Adams defended the decision to send Jed Anderson back on the ground after he copped a knee to the face. Anderson was eventually taken off with a concussion. There's breaking news from the MCG ahead of a huge clash between the Blues and the D's. Returning to Mitch Cleary, and Mitch, there's a big late change for Carlton.
Well, Abby, the Blues got Patrick Cripps off his suspension, but they've copped a late midfield curveball. Adam Chera is out of the side tonight with an adductor strain. He'll be replaced by Will Setterfield. Meantime, at Melbourne, assistant Adam Uze is now the leading contender for the Giants coaching vacancy, but if successful, he'll stay with the Demons right through to finals. Here's both camps pre-game.
Yeah, a bit of an adductor strain on Thursday morning at training, so yeah, didn't quite get up. It's only minor, but didn't quite get up for the game.
Oh, no, I don't. No, I imagine they're still working through their candidates, but GWS have been brilliant in terms of letting us know the process. So is Ooze. His focus is definitely with us and will be right the way through.
If he was to be given the job, would you want him to stick around right through to the end of your finals campaign?
Yeah, we would, and that's what he wants to do as well, yeah.
Meantime, Carlton midfielder Matt Kennedy is facing fresh doubt for this season. He's missed the last fortnight with a jaw injury, but he's set to meet specialists over a fresh ankle injury, one to watch in coming weeks. Last night, it was a dirty night for the Saints. Brad Crouch has copped a one-match ban. They were wayward in front of goals, now facing the possibility of missing finals. Now needing a miracle to feature in September, the Saints only have themselves to blame.
Oh no. He cannot believe it.
Left Taru coughing up a final quarter lead. Spearhead Max King finishing with 5 straight behinds.
Max last night, I've never seen a worse case of the yips. These were sitters. They're not hard shots, they were sitters.
His coach backing the 22-year-old.
I want to go to war with Max. Because he delivers and he will deliver.
But shutting the door on King reuniting with junior coach Matthew Lloyd.
He won't be seeing anybody outside the club. He doesn't need to. We've got people with the skill set to keep working there.
It just comes down to ego for me. I'm not sure why you'd knock that back ever. If any club said, hey, Matthew Lloyd's about to take some goal kicking, you go, does he need picking up or an Uber?
Former number 1 pick Cam Rayner exploding.
That's really good. Statement made.
His 4 goals helping the Lions into second. This year's likely top pick, and Lions father-son Will Ashcroft with 29 disposals in the VFL. At Richmond, Nick Voston preparing to wear a rib guard against Hawthorn, getting through today's captain's run along with skipper Toby Nankervis. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
A gruelling campaign is starting to take its toll on Nick Kyrgios. The Aussie fought through fatigue to level his quarter-final at the Canadian Open 1-set-all. Opponent Hubert Hurkacz took a lengthy bathroom break before the third set, which halted Kyrgios' momentum.
15.
He wasn't happy. Kyrgios lost the decider 6-1. Aussie Cameron Smith had to get creative to stay in touch with the leaders at the Dew Championship. The world number 2 pulled off a stunning eagle to sit 3 shots off the pace at the halfway mark.
He's done it! Cam Smith has done it!
Share of 5th now for the
big
Aussie.
bird has landed!
Adam Scott is a shot further back, while fellow Aussie Cam Davis produced a clutch up and down to make the cut. And for the 4th straight year, Matilda skipper Sam Kerr has been nominated for the world football's most prestigious prize, the Ballon d'Or. Kerr finished at the top goal scorer at Chelsea's championship-winning Super League campaign. The winner will be named on October 17. And, of course, all the Blues and D's action is coming up tonight after the news at 7 on 7.
All right, Abby, thank you very much. Sonia's back with the forecast. Son, how are those storms looking?
Well, Blake, there are still some brewing across the state. I'll tell you how long we're at risk next. Welcome back. There are some storms still brewing with a number of cells firing up around the city, but the wind is pushing these slow-moving storms out to the west. That's where most of the activity is focused tonight. They are breaking apart now and they're going to start to die off in the coming hours. Still a low storm risk through the night, but it's all gone by tomorrow. Today, the storms brought intense downpours and hail. It's almost as if they came out of nowhere, particularly if you're in the city. We didn't even get a drop of rain. The temperature warming to a high of 16.2, and it's actually the sunshine that fueled the afternoon instability. It warmed to 19 for those in Viewbank, 18 in Coldstream. That's where we saw a lot of the early storms this afternoon focused. We are still on storm watch tonight, but it's looking pretty good if you're heading out into the city. The wind is light. We're holding on a mild 11. You might just have to dodge a couple of raindrops if you're heading out and about. There were intense storms and showers also driving into Gippsland today, and you can see that main line of storms extending from Melbourne out into the west. That's going to continue to drift further west tonight. We are in a very unusual weather pattern at the moment. A few factors at play, mainly this complex low pressure system that's going to continue to deepen as it moves further south. Here in the city, we're looking at a soggy week ahead. We've got Thursday the wettest at this stage, up to 10 millimetres, but the temperature is staying fairly mild. We're looking at around the mid-teens, peaking at 16 next Thursday, but we're getting a burst of cold air that's going to take us into the weekend. To the forecast now, a sprinkling of showers in Adelaide, but heavy rain for those in Hobart as that low drifts further south. Here in Victoria, some morning fog, patchy frost in the northwest, showers developing from midday, mostly on and south of the Divide, and expect light winds to freshen through the afternoon, but there's no storms in sight in the forecast. They're all going to die off tonight. Closer in, we are starting Sunday dry. We've got showers arriving from midday. They'll spread across the city. The wind starting light, that's going to become breezy though through the afternoon as most spots head for 14 or 15 degrees. Here in the city, we're starting on 8 degrees. 15 is what we are aiming for. A few showers developing, but there are no storms. And that pretty much sums up next week. Monday, 15, cloudy with showers. Tuesday, 14, cloudy with showers. Showers and 15 on Wednesday. Easing on Thursday, we're getting up to 16. Then a wintry cold blast will take us into the weekend. So a lot of grey days in the outlook. Showers developing around lunchtime in the city tomorrow. Top of 15 degrees, Blake. Any storms still going tonight? They're going to die off in the next couple of hours. Okay. But what a wild afternoon of weather today.
It's been keeping you very busy
Absolutely,
today.
It's been a busy one.
Son, thank you. That is all from 7 News. Thanks for making us part of your Saturday. We're off to the G now for the final shaping clash between the Demons and the Blues. From the 7 News team, good night.